Okay, looks like we're live. Hello everyone, my name is Verde Arbusto, and this is the Schumann Resonance Harmonics channel on YouTube and on Facebook. It is the January, I'm trying to think of it, July. We're past July, we're in August. It's like the 2nd of August, well past Saturday. Okay, so this will serve as part 2 of a introduction of what the how to read the Schumann resonances. The first part of this is really an introduction to the dependencies, and I will be going over that in this video. And as I do my daily readings, I talk about the dependencies, and this is what the introduction to the dependencies is. Okay, so I'm going to pause this. All right, so where we are, this is an overview. Running along the bottom of the graph, here, on the bottom of the graph here, bottom graph here, bottom graph here, and here, is the measurement of the time. There are two sets of clocks that they are showing you. The little tiny one on top is the local time. Local time. And zoom in so you can see this. All right. So you see local time here, local time there, local time there. On the bottom is UTC. On the far left of the graph, here, are the measurements of the far left of the graph here on the spectrograph is the resonant frequency. It starts at 0, the top left corner, and then from there moves downward. The numbers increase, going at 4 Hertz increments. Let me scoot in on that. Okay, so starts at 0 on the top left, which you can't see. I scooted in. All right. So 0 at the top left, and then it goes down to 40, broken in 4 Hertz increments. Okay, so 40 is the maximum that it goes up to in Tomsk, where this is Tomsk University, where this is based, where they take the Tomsk Observatory, where they take their measurements, they cap it at 40 Hertz. Okay, so the spectrograph, this here is the spectrograph, is plotted from the reporting 12 dependencies. And so I know in the video it's hard to show. Okay, the video it's hard to show, but you have 12 lines here. There's 4 in the amplitude, 4 in the quality, 4 in the frequency. Okay, so these 12 lines are the reporting dependencies. There's 4 modes of amplitude, 4 modes of quality, 4 modes of frequency. All right? Okay, so on our spectrograph, going back up here, woo, hello, shadow nose. Okay, scoot down a little. Hopefully, we're scooting down a little. Okay, wonderful, you're fabulous. So on our spectrograph, right here, we have the dark blue. Okay, you see the dark blue, dark blue. This actually is not the dark blue, but right here, what I kind of love about doing these videos is that as I look after I watch the video and I see the color effect of the spectrograph right here, okay. Oh, and I like how it did that. As you see the color effect, you see this dark, the dark comes really dark, and this blue, what I'm calling indigo, indiglow, right here in the middle of that, indiglow, becomes very glowy, because you have light behind it. Right. So the dark blue, it's hard to tell here, but the dark blue, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little bit there, a little tiny bit there, a little tiny bit there. Okay, and then back here, a little tiny bit up there. The dark blue, which you don't see much of there, is the at-rest state. That is the neutral, at-rest, fair weather state of the atmosphere, but of the chart itself. It's a theoretical 0 point, which starts as a navy dark blue, and then it goes to the various, it's our at-rest point. So, okay, so the atmosphere is under a certain tension, and it acts like a elastic, and it creates a balance point that way. All right. So the 12 dependencies use actual light, as you see, so it's not like an ink, it's light, to plot a tapestry of the patterns and the codes, because the atmosphere, which includes, it extends all the way out into the magnetosphere, is elastic in the sense, this is what essentially creates this weaving pattern of shepherding these electromagnetic waves, the Schumann resonance waves, around the waveguide of the Earth ionosphere corridor. An at-rest state of fair weather is our theoretical 0 point, which starts as the navy, the dark blue background, and it above is stated as an interactive canvas. Okay. Upon this canvas gets reported with, or plotted, the information of the 12 dependencies. This is the actual raw data, which is grafted or schemed by the line graphs of the 4 individual colors, which are the 4 individual modes. Okay. I'm referring to the 4 colors. Those are our primary colors. Okay. Now, technically, white is not a color. It's a luminance, but blue is a color. So we essentially have 4 colors on the palette to work with. So relative to making the patterns, plotting, making the schemes, we have 4 colors, our 4 primary colors to work with are blue of the background, white, right? So it's technically it's not a color, but you see white shows up over and above everything else. Yellow, the white doesn't want to play with others well, I'll put it that way. So the colors are, blue, yellow, red, and green for the purposes of explaining what this is, okay, of how we get the colors. Again, we have 4 modes that are reporting in white, yellow, red, and green. The modes are reported in those colors, but we have the background of the environment, the atmosphere, which is always moving. It's always in play. It's always in flux. So at all times when we're doing this, do we remember to include the elasticity of the blue background in this? Okay. So when the literature refers to modes, and I'm going to have to make a video of this so you can know what the modes are by themselves. All right, but because that's a really tough one to have to figure out. That's the advanced class. All right, so in the meantime, when the literature refers to modes, this relates to the type of internal copper wirings based on the number of turns, the cross-section of the wire. This allows for a certain range of signals to be detected. This band of signals is the lowest end of the low-frequency radio waves, which encircle the globe, primarily due to lightning discharges. All right. So traditional Schumann resonances are based on lightning discharges. All right. So I'm introducing the antenna relative to the modes, but it's much more complicated than that. But I want there to be an introduction of the antenna, and this is a good place to put it. whenever we're talking about, for me anyway, whenever we're talking about the Schumann resonances here, the Schumann, quote unquote, the Schumann, quote unquote, that's what that is, the Schumann. Relative to that, I'm always asking, wow, what did the amplitude, what did the electric do? What did the quality, what was the magnetics? And the last one over here, what is the flux? Flux you. Yeah, frequency is flux you. That's my joke for the day. Unintended joke. I walked into it. There it is. Okay. All right. So I think we're in the middle of the frame. Hold on. I'm trying to get all of it in the frame here. Okay. All right. So the quality, this is our quality, which is the magnetics, and this is basically the back and forth of the magnetics. This is how do I explain this? Well, I'll explain what it is. The frequency is the volume of the wavelength. Okay, so the frequency here this is not a velocity. This is not a speed. This is a wavelength. This is a distance. Here to here, this peak here, I can't even do this without shaking. Here we go. There to there is a peak of, that's 8. That's what that is. Or it's actually not 8, it's 7.6, sorry. 8's way up here. So these are smaller vehicles. These wavelengths down here are smaller than this up here. As it goes up, the frequency is the wavelength. So the distance between here to here is, even though it's in the same time, distance from this peak to this peak is not the same as the distance between this peak to that peak. If you can wrap your head around it. The size of this vehicle is 8.2. The size of this vehicle down here, this one, is 7.34. Okay, so as you go up, the size of the vehicle, the size of the wave itself, actually, the wavelength itself actually increases. Okay. So when we are, and I'm going to scoot out from this. Oh, no, that's the wrong out. All right, so your other route. So introducing the antenna. On the subject of the receiving antennas for the data, I have posted many times in the Schumann Resonance Harmonics group in Facebook, highlighting the technology and the workings of the antenna used to collect the data. For our purposes here, we need to understand a few basic concepts on how the signals are measured. Okay. There are a few different types of antenna designs, yet the principle remains consistent, based on the following principle. The electric portion of the signal traverses and it propagates vertically, while the magnetic portion of the signal travels horizontally, which is to say, hugging the ground. Okay. The proper Schumann resonance antenna is a multi-part system. Each antenna mode reports in the amplitude and the quality and the frequency. The antenna is recording a three-dimensional configuration of the EMF, yet it has to report it on a two-dimensional plotting. Okay. Sitting on top of the antenna ball tower is the whip, what you would call a whip. It's like a CB antenna. It's upright. Okay, moving that up. All right. So it is. If you've ever seen a CB antenna, it's basically the same thing. There's a dipole. That's what they call a dipole antenna, which is often in a protected metal sphere. So a lot of times you see these antennas with a metal ball on the top, and that's what that metal ball is, the dipole antenna, which measures the amplitude of the signal. Okay. At the base, there are two induction coils, which are they're joined together at the base. They have the same. I don't know how to put it. I'm going to have to find a picture, but they're basically joined together at the base of the tower to measure the magnetic component. This set at the base measures the magnetics or the quality along two separate axes. There's the 90-degree axis, or they're separated by 90 degrees. So there's the north-south alignment axis, and then there is the east-west axis alignment. The two induction coils are wrapped, or wound, or turned with a magnetic, with wire, which is usually a copper wire, around a magnetically permeable material. The coil receives a electromagnetic frequency signal, the magnetic waves, which are then within the range of its receptivity based on the structure of the windings. There can be anywhere from 3,000 to 100,000 turns, depending upon the wavelength of the signal that they are trying to get. Depending upon the winding's thickness of the wire depends on the type of signal that gets reported onto the line graph, which is the quality here. Boop, 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 boop. The signal activates or initiates movement along the coil, and it produces an electric response at the end, and then the report is generated from the lines going up and down. Boop, 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 boop. Okay, it is important to note that after the antenna captures a signal, it goes through the amplification phase. There's a preamplifier, there's a noise filter, such as a notch at 25 hertz. That's a common thing, is to find the 50 hertz notch. There may also be other notches depending on certain frequencies. Then an amplifier to allow it to physically move the graph. After this, it gets stored on a hard drive server in a database, and then they pull the data necessary for the spectrograph, which is way up here. All right. The spectrograph shows a three-dimensional spherical construction on a plane surface. The spectrograph composites, or it combines the vertical axis, the amplitude, and the electric with the horizontal, which is the quality magnetic, when it plots the spectrograph. It's helpful to think of this as a full-color Etch-a-Sketch, where this is an old-school toy. I don't know if they still sell them, but the Etch-a-Sketch had two knobs on the bottom. It was basically a graphite screen that was covered on the inside with graphite, and you have a cursor that moves on the inside, and as it moves, it knocks away the graphite material. So it reveals a line, and that line can move in all kinds of different shape depending on the horizontal and the vertical, and if you're really talented, you can get it to move in a circular fashion. You can actually make a circle, which blew me away. And people have done some pretty amazing artwork on Etch-a-Sketch. Okay, so both knobs have to be precisely controlled to get any kind of recognizable pattern or picture to it. It's important to remember that the electric component of EMF, electromagnetic frequency, moves vertically, while the magnetic portion extends out 90 degrees perpendicularly and alternating back and forth as it travels or propagates. It therefore creates a field as it travels along, which eventually will meet up with itself. It will interfere with itself after it's traveled around the world. It is this meeting where the two come together which creates the resonance or the harmonics of the radio waves which you are seeing. You are being shown that resonance here in the spectrograph. And that's what the spectrograph is. It is the showing you the interference of the radio waves among itself. And that's what you're picking. That's what this is picking up here. The resonance waves of the frequencies that are bouncing against and hitting each other. These are interference waves, which are also called standing waves, which sort of stack up. You can see them stacking up. That's what this is, like a stack of pancakes. This is a stack of resonances. Okay. All right. So, all right. We're at the. All right. Okay. Actually, yeah. I think I have a little bit more left, and then I will end for the day. All right. So the vertical spikes are the amplitude dependency. Okay. Vertical spikes are the amplitude dependency. These are highly charged particles coming into the antenna, and at this point, all these right here are beyond what traditional Schumann resonances equate, or what they predict that should be there, based upon lightning alone. This is important to mention. Just based upon, if it was only lightning alone, these energies here are beyond from 22, basically, from 22 beyond, are out of the range of the equation of the Schumann resonance harmonics. Okay. When the electrics are unrequited or unpaired with the magnetics, the four modes are synchronous. So you see, this is what I'm saying here, synchronous modes. You see this, like all three of them. All right, let me zoom in here so you can see this. And even when oh, there we go, okay, much better, love it, love you. All right, so when I talk about the synchronous modes, this is what I'm talking about here. Ding, 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 this right here. All right, so unrequited electrics mean that there is not a magnetic signal that goes with it. When I'm talking about the synchronous modes, this is what I'm talking about. All four of these modes are the signal is almost identical, except for this green, the green right here. Here, starting at 11, spot on at 11. This is 11 UTC. That would be 16 local time. All right, so it's 16 local time. Bing, you have this and then that. That spike. And then down there, it drops a little bit, halfway. Up there again, and then this little cutoff here. Now it's synchronous, except for the fact that the heavier part, this is just a little lagging behind. So it's not entirely synchronous. It's not, it's not all exactly exact, but there's I would expect that. The heavier part of the signal, the bigger part of the signal would be lagging behind. Okay, now, when I talk about the requited, so here you see the peak of the electric okay, scoot in again. All right, there we go, perfect. All right. So when I talk about requited electrics and magnetics, this is what I'm talking about. How you have this huge spike, crazy spike. It was up to 74 that day in the white mode. It's up to 63 in the yellow, number 2. 54 here in the red. And 48 here in the green, right? So they're all banging up together. These are in a synchronistic mode. This is not lightning doing this. I assure you of that. This might be lightning, maybe, but all four of those modes are not going to be identical, because you have with the electric, you have a magnetic component. Standard traditional Schumann theory posits that you have electro and magnetic together. Now you have this spike here, the red. I'll give you that. That red is in synchronization with that, but that's one mode. The red and the red. Okay, but look at the rest of it. You get a ping there, you get a ding there, ding, 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 all these dings. And there are not, this one here, you get a ding there, but you're looking at that, there are no dings accompanying that. That's like flat. It's like glass, practically speaking. When you look at this, all these jammies here are bopping, 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 like popcorn, and this is like glass, like I said, unfazed by the magnetic part. So this is what that's telling you. When all these magnetics are acting crazy by themselves, and all the electrics are acting crazy, or not by themselves, but they're acting in unity, then these are not Schumann resonances. These are not traditional standard Schumann resonance energies. Okay. So when the electrics are unrequited or unpaired with the magnetics, four modes of synchronous, it is my contention that these are rays of highly charged plasma, which are essentially from beyond the sun. They're certainly beyond the ionosphere, and I'm saying that they're even beyond our sun. But they are hosted. They're from beyond our sun, but they're hosted through our star from a greater central sun, and due to quantum tunneling and quantum entanglement, they move at the speed of thought, which is faster than the speed of light. The ELF frequency range, as stated by Bolland in the Handbook of Atmospheric Dynamics, 1995, relative to atmospheric science, covers a frequency range of 3 to 60 hertz. So, at its technical, the atmospheric scientists consider the ULF, which is the ELF, as the lowest frequency range from 3 to 60 hertz. A hertz is a unit of frequency which is measuring peak to peak amount within a time period of 1 second. As the frequency, the wave to wave height increases, the length decreases inversely. So as the height increases, the length decreases, and it works the other way. All right. So electromagnetic waves are not compression waves like sound, and these are different. All right. So I am well over my time limit, and I'm going to stop here for part 2 of this video. I will be making part 3 immediately after this one. So thank you all for coming today. I appreciate you being here with me. Thank you to all the Wages World supporters for being here. And I'm just going to pick up at part 3 right where I left off. So hopefully I will see you over there. Thank you. Bye. Have a great day. Namaste.